Next on the news.
One victim is dead, and there's a trail of destruction that snakes through Bay Ridge. I'm Jessica Easthope with what we now know about the mental state of the U-Haul driver who went on a violent rampage and what he's being charged with tonight.
I am filled with rage.
Anger and disbelief. A mass shooting kills 3 students at Michigan State University, continuing one of the deadliest years in a decade. A sad cycle of loss and grief. Syrians struggle without aid after that devastating earthquake. Their cries for help to the international community. Plus, honoring a martyr, the shrine being built, which is expected to attract thousands of people. I'm Christine Persichetti. Current News starts right now. Police say the man who went on a violent rampage through Brooklyn in a U-Haul truck Monday, mowing down pedestrians, moped drivers, and a police officer, will be charged with murder. Several of those victims are still recovering and one has died. Current News' Jessica Easthope is in Bay Ridge with the latest, and we have to warn you, some of the images you're about to see may be disturbing.
Police say 62-year-old Wang Sor was suffering a mental health crisis and was off his medication when he drove a U-Haul truck through Bay Ridge, hitting 9 victims across 8 crime scenes. The one I'm standing in front of right now at the corner of Bay Ridge Parkway and 5th Avenue turned deadly. The blood of a 44-year-old moped driver is still on the ground beside me. He was thrown from his bike into the windshield of this minivan and later lost his life at the hospital. Sor is being charged with 1 count of murder and 7 counts of attempted murder, and the community here in Bay Ridge says this corner is now forever a marker of pain and tragedy for this neighborhood. Moments later, and it could have been him. Julio Hernandez said he was about to cross the street when he saw the U-Haul truck speeding down Bay Ridge Parkway. Julio has been doing construction on this bank just across the street from where the 44-year-old victim was struck.
He was bleeding from his neck, from his mouth. Yeah, he was really bad. He looks really bad. Yeah, it was really scary.
He ran over as soon as it happened. He thought it was a hit and run.
We tried to chase the guy. We thought it was an accident. Then about 10 minutes after, the guy came, I ran over here again, and the police was chasing him.
We now know that for close to an hour, Wang Sor zigzagged through the streets of southwest Brooklyn, hopping the curb at points, hitting close to a dozen people, speeding away from police, reportedly asking them to shoot him because he wasn't going to stop. Sor has a history of mental illness.
And I felt bad for everyone, even the driver. He had problems.
People going about their daily routines are shaken, saying they'll never view these streets the same.
Growing up here, living here all my life, your life can change on a dime. The fact that we have to do something about the mentally ill. There are just far too many incidents across the nation like this.
According to police, Wang Sor has 8 prior arrests. He's estranged from his wife and son who live in Brooklyn. And again, he's being charged with 1 count of second-degree murder and 7 counts of attempted murder. The NYPD says even more charges could be coming as a result of the police officer who was struck. The police commissioner, Keishant Sewell, said the department is looking to bring the strongest possible case against him. In Bay Ridge, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Now to a news alert. We're still finding out new details about the gunman that killed 3 and critically hurt 5 others in Michigan. Anthony McCrae took his own life as people share their accounts of when he opened fire. Ivan Rodriguez has more.
Acres dying.
Terrifying moments Monday night at Michigan State University as students ran for their lives or hid in their classrooms. Police in pursuit of a gunman who's opened fire in an academic building before heading to the student union.
Right when that first gunshot went off, I booked it to the far corner of the class. I was sitting right next to the door where he came in.
Guys were telling us to run out the back door as quick as we can and run for our lives.
Police found the bodies of 2 students in Berkey Hall and another at the student union. 5 other students were critically injured. The suspect, identified by police as 43-year-old Anthony Dwayne McCrae, died from a self-inflicted gunshot.
We have absolutely no idea what the motive was at this point.
Rosman says McCrae had no connection to the school, but he did have a criminal record. Court records show McCrae pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor firearm charge in 2019. He gave up his weapon as part of the plea deal and served probation until May 2021. The focus for many is on the victims and their families.
We're devastated at the loss of life, and we want to wrap our warm arms around every family that is touched by this tragedy.
Classes are canceled until Monday as the school brings in resources to help students cope with what happened. Ivan Rodriguez, Currents News.
Following the deadly attack, people of faith sending out their thoughts and prayers for the victims. Bishop Earl Boyer of Lansing, Michigan, tweeted this: "May the love of Almighty God restore health to the injured, sustain those caring for them, bestow solace on those who mourn, and eternal rest to those who were killed. The Catholic community is praying that they rest in peace." We are also now learning 2 public schools in Ewing, New Jersey were closed Tuesday after a note mentioning them was found in the gunman's pocket. Details on exactly what the note said haven't been released, but it reportedly indicated a threat to the 2 schools. McCrae has ties to Ewing Township but hasn't lived in the area for several years. Though police said there was no threat to the schools, they did close Tuesday and were guarded by a heavy police presence out of, quote, an abundance of caution. The White House will hold a classified briefing with senators on Wednesday regarding China and objects being shot out of the sky. This will be the second such briefing in a week after a Chinese spy balloon was shot down off the South Carolina coast. Some lawmakers were already briefed, but as the debate continues on how the balloons should have been handled, progress is being made on finding out exactly what the Chinese balloon was doing.
We were able to determine that China has a high-altitude balloon program for intelligence collection that's connected to the People's Liberation Army.
The Pentagon added that the military has recovered, quote, significant debris from the coast off South Carolina. Let's recap now where and when these objects were shot down in North America. The most recent one was Sunday in Lake Huron. That's off the northern peninsula of Michigan. Going up the western coast of Canada, something was shot down on Saturday in the Yukon area. Then again the day before that at the northernmost point of the Alaskan-Canadian border. And of course, the only one that's definitely tied to China, the balloon off the South Carolina coast on February 4th. At least 20 state attorneys general want answers as to why the FBI's Richmond division released what they're calling an anti-Catholic memo. The leaked memo, which has been retracted, discussed investigating, quote, radical traditionalist Catholics, their concerns, possible connections to the far-right white nationalist movement. In a letter organized by the attorneys general, they want to know the resources used to create the note. They continued by saying that no American should be targeted based on their religious beliefs and practices. Also tonight, a double disaster, a deadly quake, and no one to be found. No one to help.
We lost a lot of patients because of shortages in medical supplies. If we had them, we could have saved many more lives.
Tragedy on top of decades of war. Right now on Currents News, Syria's suffering. Death follows Syrians everywhere. Those were the chilling words of a quake survivor in northwestern Syria, where finding aid is still a big issue. Help is being held up there by politics. Hostilities still raw after nearly 12 years of constant conflict. Currents News' Michelle Powers has the story of nearly impossible survival.
Baby Muhammad takes every little breath on his own. No mom, no dad to hold his tiny hand. His parents didn't survive the earthquake. In every room of this Syrian hospital, a bittersweet tale of survival. Many more should have been alive today to tell their stories. Doctors say they tried to save them, but didn't have enough supplies. The few medical facilities in rebel-held Syria are barely still standing after years of Russian and Syrian regime bombardment that left them ill-equipped to deal with a disaster of this magnitude.
We lost a lot of patients because of shortages in medical supplies. If we had them, we could have saved many more lives.
The people of this devastated land cried for help, but no one came. Aid to rebel-held northwest Syria is tied in politics. They dig and dig with their bare hands and whatever they can find, desperately trying to reach their loved ones. It's too late now for rescues. They just want to bury their dead. Most have been displaced time and time again by more than a decade of war. They're now homeless once again. We just want a tent, one woman says. I wish we had died with everyone else so we don't go through this. We survived only to live this misery and agony. They have nowhere left to run. Millions are trapped in Idlib. It's the last rebel-held territory in Syria. 700 people lived in this now flattened residential complex. Only a handful survived. Michelle Powers, Currents News.
In Turkey, a crackdown on contractors is happening because of the quake. Currently, 163 people are being investigated in connection with building collapses. 8 have been arrested and 48 are in police custody. This as scrutiny over the country's construction standards and building regulations grows. Earthquakes are not uncommon in Turkey, and the country has tightened building codes after previous disasters to ensure they can withstand large tremors. Since many new buildings were damaged in this latest quake, residents and experts have been questioning if the government failed to take the necessary regulation steps. The Diocese of Brooklyn is trying to help the people of Turkey and Syria. This weekend, they're asking all parishes to take up a second collection. That money will be sent to the Catholic Near East Welfare Association to help get the earthquake victims basic supplies like food and medication. You can also send a check to the diocese to aid in their efforts. Just make it payable to the Compostela Fund of the Archdiocese of Brooklyn with the notation Syria and Turkey, and mail it to the Diocesan Finance Office. That's at 310 Prospect Park West in Brooklyn, New York, the zip code 11215. Catholic students in the Diocese of Brooklyn have gotten a boost thanks to a group of Franciscan Brothers. Bishop Robert Brennan was presented with a $10,000 check from the Franciscan Brothers of Brooklyn late last month. Money that will go to Futures in Education, which ensures the gift of a Catholic education is available for students throughout Brooklyn and Queens. The donation is in honor of the order's 165th year in the diocese and their many years working in education. The Franciscans first came to Brooklyn in 1858 to care for immigrant children through their ministry in Catholic education. Since then, the Franciscan Brothers have served in over 40 elementary and high schools in Brooklyn and beyond. We had many of them at St. Francis Prep in Queens. There's a lot more news headed your way, honoring the first U.S.-born martyr, the Oklahoma City shrine where thousands will soon visit. He's the patron saint of love. What you need to know about St. Valentine on this special day. Plus, he's an inspiration on and off the court, the Catholic high school basketball team manager who is motivating others to never give up. If you're looking to go on a pilgrimage, you can put Oklahoma City on your itinerary. A new shrine is being dedicated on Friday, and it's expected to draw people from across the U.S. and even around the world. It will honor the United States' first martyr who spent much of his life serving the people of Guatemala.
In 2017, thousands of people from around the world flocked to Oklahoma City to celebrate the beatification of the first U.S.-born martyr, Father Stanley Rother. He was killed in a small town in Guatemala for defending the rights of his parishioners against the political group at that time.
So at that time, Archbishop Coakley said, wow, there's a really beautiful devotion to Blessed Stanley in this area, and people came from all over, from Minnesota and from very far away on pilgrimages for that beatification. So he thought that it would be an appropriate time to found a shrine in honor of Blessed Stanley.
The Rother Shrine is nearly complete. It will include a church, pilgrim center, museum, and gift shop. Executive Director Leif Arvidsson says the church is in the Spanish mission or colonial style, which is a nod to Blessed Stanley's love for the Guatemalan people.
We will honor them in a special way also in the museum. So in the museum, you'll learn about Father Stanley's days as a boy on the farm, and then about his seminary days. And then the next area in the museum, people will be able to learn about Guatemalan culture, see pictures of beautiful Santiago Atitlan area, and we'll have information about the food that the Guatemalans eat, the clothing they wear and how they weave the clothing, the songs they sing.
As his beatification ceremony revealed, Blessed Father Stanley Rother is loved not only in Oklahoma, but around the world. Though the Catholic community in Oklahoma makes up only 8% of the population, Arvidsson believes the shrine will be a sign of the minority's faith.
Just a major Catholic witness that's very visible to the population here in Oklahoma, and honoring one of Oklahoma's own, also a person that all Oklahomans can be proud of, not only Catholics, but from other communities too.
Blessed Father Rother is the first U.S.-born priest to be beatified. And while his body is buried in Oklahoma, his heart is actually still in Guatemala, buried in a church there. There could be trouble ahead for the Roman Catholic Diocese of San Diego. It may file for bankruptcy as it faces $500 million in sexual abuse claims. A recent bill lifted the statute of limitations, which gave Californians a chance to file sexual abuse lawsuits against religious institutions, regardless of limitations. There are about 400 sex abuse claims, some of which date back to the 1940s. The diocese says it doesn't have the money to settle, and parishioners are upset. In 2007, the diocese says it paid out $198 million to settle 144 sex abuse claims. That payout depleted their assets. But the church released a statement saying, quote, "We will continue to protect minors and use our diocesan assets to compensate those who are victimized." Grieving families are on Capitol Hill. They're asking for help against cyberbullying and support over mental health concerns after their children committed suicide. And Brianna Keeler tells us the mental health for teens across America is at risk.
His absence has left a hole in our hearts forever.
Kristen Bride is one of a growing number of parents who have lost a child to cyberbullying. Kristen channeled some of her grief into activism, spearheading the passage of Carson's Law in her home state of Oregon. It requires school districts to notify parents or guardians of incidents like cyberbullying and harassment.
I think that there really is a level of helplessness, especially from parents who are trying to keep their kids safe online.
The ubiquity of social media in kids' lives and the vehicle it provides for cyberbullying are also getting renewed attention as the CDC unveils a new report. It shows significant declines in youth mental health and increased suicide risk in 2021, especially among girls. And as the story of Adriana Kutch, a 14-year-old student in New Jersey who was attacked by 4 other teenagers in her school's hallway, has stunned the nation. Video of her attack was posted to TikTok. Her father said she died by suicide the following evening.
Getting hit in the face with a water bottle didn't hurt Adriana. What hurt Adriana was the embarrassment and humiliation. They just kept coming at her.
Facebook's internal research revealed how Instagram, its photo and video sharing social media service, can damage young users' mental health and body image.
I came forward at great personal risk,
prompting whistleblower Frances Haugen to go public and testify before Congress in 2021.
Kids who are bullied on Instagram, the bullying follows them home.
At the time, a Facebook spokesperson disputed Haugen's testimony, but said the company agreed it was time to create standard rules for the internet.
I really want the committee to see the face, the personal tragedy that is a result of these social media companies being completely unregulated. We need help from the federal government, and we need it now.
Again, that was Brianna Keeler reporting. If you know someone who needs help, Catholic Charities Brooklyn and Queens has a suicide prevention program that is available to all. You can call their mobile crisis team at 718-514-8031. They also encourage you to dial 988, which is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Still to come on Currents News, his high school basketball career is coming to a close, but his story is inspiring others. We introduced you to the team manager at St. Stephen's High School. And he's the reason love is in the air every February 14th. The story of St. Valentine coming up. It's Valentine's Day, and while you might remember the flowers or chocolate, don't forget the person this day is named for, the patron saint of love. Saint Valentine is the reason why people celebrate love on February 14th. According to the church, the saint was a 3rd century Christian who died a martyr during widespread Roman persecutions. But before that, historians say he married Christian couples in secret. It wasn't until the 1400s when the day became associated with romance. That's when people started writing letters and poems declaring their love and calling them Valentines. And today, nothing can stop those feelings, not even inflation. Spending is supposed to spike to $26 billion before the end of the night. Some 180 million cards will be exchanged, and florists are expected to deliver more than 2 million roses. Wow. Speaking of spreading the love, if you head to your church right now and pick up a tablet, you could read about 2 couples who have been doing so for more than 60 years. Their secrets to a long and healthy marriage. Plus, find out the history behind wedding bands and how the tradition has changed over time. Really interesting. Valentine's Day can also be a heartbreaking holiday, but this year, some volunteers in Raleigh, North Carolina, are delivering a labor of love, making sure no one is left out, even if their spouse isn't there to celebrate. These are all special deliveries packed up and sent out today to women who lost their husbands. Denise Kilmes knows what that's like. She lost her husband Ken to cancer, so this has a special meaning.
After a while, people forget about these kind of occasions. And so what Marie is doing with this is just great. I'm probably going to be delivering tomorrow, and I get to have that same joy of seeing their smile on people's faces.
And when they get to the homes, they tell the women that they are not alone and they are still loved. Now to a story about the love of the game. A high school basketball player is saying goodbye to the sport, but his team is turning around to say thank you for being an inspiration. Cam Gaskins has the story from Hickory, North Carolina.
Number 8, go! If you've ever been to a St. Stephen's basketball game, you've no doubt seen an energy on the bench that's impossible to miss.
Let's go! Well, Spencer's one of those kids that his personality and stuff makes it infectious.
Spencer Neal has served as the team's manager since his freshman year and immediately became a part of this family from day one.
My coach believes in me a lot.
He always believes in us as much as we believe in him, so we never feel like we're out of a game, and we talk about never quitting, and Spencer's the definition of never quitting.
His whole life has been about not quitting. Spencer was born with Down syndrome, and from his birth, his parents were constantly told what he would not be able to do in life.
I think I was more nervous about him not having people that would accept him, but he's just one of the guys.
Now they get to watch their son be part of a team every game, something they were told would be impossible.
Spencer will come home and he's like, that's my family, you know. And he talks about Coach Smith and how much he believes in him, and it's really given him the confidence too.
And on Tuesday this week, Neal got to be a part of the team on the court as well, suiting up for senior night and hitting the first basket of the game.
Puts like a joy on my face, exciting for him because when he made the shot, I just knew how much it meant to him, more than anybody else really.
Now, as his senior season is coming to an end, Spencer is soaking up every moment he can with this team that made him a part of a family.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be a day hard for me to let go.
You know, I'm going to look over my shoulder some nights next season and he's not going to be there, and I'm going to have to, you know, I've got those moments bottled up that will last forever, so we're really thankful for that.
Awesome. That was Cam Gaskins reporting. Now, the plan is for Spencer to attend either Clemson or West Carolina in the fall, but no matter where he ends up, he says he'll always be part of the team at St. Stephen's High School. What a great story. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.